What's going on, everyone? So we got a much needed win against the Brooklyn Nets yesterday, and I really am excited for this week because one, it allows the team to kind of marinate in the win. Us fans too, we get to marinate in the win, but also it gives us time to recover, right? LeBron's basically going to have like a week off by the time we get to play on Friday. Anthony Davis, hopefully he can get to 100%, and we can start getting in position to rattle off some wins here, right? We're 3-10, which is not good, but we do play Detroit. We do play the Spurs like 3 times in like a 4-night period, something like that. We do play the Suns in between. That's going to be tough. But if we can beat the Pistons and then we can beat the Spurs at least 2 out of 3 times, we could start climbing back into a position. I really want to see how this Lakers team is against the teams that they should beat. Because here's the thing. A lot of people like to compare last season to this season, and they're like, "Oh, this team is not better. This, that, and the other." The Lakers were 5-5 through 10 games. We're terrible, we're worse. But the records and the competition was much different. One, the Western Conference is just better this year. But two, last year we had one of the easiest schedules to start. Right, we were playing like nothing but like minus sub 500 teams. Where this season, pretty much for the most part, up until like this upcoming run and like a couple games like the Nets and they have all been 500 plus teams, right? I know the Warriors aren't, but we played them the first game of the season, so yes, they are. No, and they're the defending champions. It's the Warriors. It's a completely different conversation, but like we've had a very tough schedule. Like Utah, everyone thought Utah was going to be a tanking team, and they just are beating everybody, right? So it's like that team was a team that like you looked at the calendar before the season began, and you were like, okay, like that team's a team that we should beat. And in reality, like they're really good. They probably better than the Utah team that they had the last few years because they're not so Donovan Mitchell reliant. It's like a team effort now. And so I'm curious to see how are the Lakers going to stack up against the teams that they should beat, because we were losing to all the teams we should beat last year. And so far, we've looked pretty good. We do have some solid wins under our belt. I really liked the Nets game because it was a commanding win, right? We won start to finish. Yes, there were guys out, stuff like that, but we were missing guys too. The Nets have been great as of late. Like going into that game, they were holding their team since Vaughn took over as head coach. They were holding teams to like 94 points a game average. Like they were like a top 4 defense. They were putting up points. Like everyone was playing great. So this was still a good win. And they still have a guy named Kevin Durant on the other side of the floor. Anthony Davis looked great. Now, I don't want to say like, oh, that this means that, the season's turning around. Like that's it. Like, no. I think there are, of course, a lot of factors. It was a good game. And I do think that we should, celebrate this. I think this is a game that's worth, having some confidence building, right? And just a moment of like, okay, like cool, that was great. I'm glad that happened, right? But we don't want to get too high in it, and neither should the Lakers. The Lakers don't want to get too high on this win, but it is a step in the positive direction. And if we can rattle off some wins. Now, I don't think we're going to beat the Spurs 3 straight times because it's really hard to beat any team 3 straight times, especially when you have to play them in like a 4-day span, like that's playoff style. But I mean, even a quicker turnaround because you're usually not playing them back to back. But if we can, that'd be great. We need to weather the storm. And I've said this before, like, I don't think we need a huge major trade right now. I do think maybe at some point you look at it, but I think right now, if you could just do like a minor deal, like take Patrick Beverly and Kendrick Nunn and go and get like, a Miles Turner or a Terry Rozier, something like that. Just go get another key piece that can really have an impact on this team. I think this team could be pretty good. Now, I don't think that, we go get Miles Turner for Patrick Beverly and Kendrick Nunn, all of a sudden we're a contender. But what I do think it does is it allows us to, one, weather the storm, to figure out what exactly do we need and what is actually out there that we can do and get done to try to improve this team, right? Like, I don't think the Buddy Hield to Miles Turner deal will be enough to completely turn this season around. I just don't. I think that they would help. I think that they would make us better. But you got to keep in mind what you would have to. So you're giving up Russ and you're giving up future assets. Okay, fine. Forget the future assets, right? Because it's the future. We'll worry about it when it happens. But you're losing Russ's production, which is like 16, 7, and 7. And you're getting basically, Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, who Miles Turner is basically a 7 rebound a game guy. So you're basically swapping Russ's rebounding for Miles Turner rebounding. So does that really help your rebounding? Scoring wise, yes, you get more scoring, you get more depth. But you got to keep in mind, Miles Turner and Buddy Hield are playing fantastic, but they're like the number 1 and number 2 options on the Pacers. They're going to go to at least the number 3 or number 4 option on the Lakers. So their production is not going to be the same. This team is starting to kind of come out of its shell a little bit from three-point land, especially with Troy Brown and Walker. They've been great. Walker's fantastic, man. He really has. Max Christie, too. Max Christie's been so good defensively. So good. Winning Gabriel's been very solid. Troy Brown, you want to talk about consistency? Troy Brown is night in and night out a 10-point-a-game guy. He gave us 9 last night. Like, that guy scores like 10 points every game. Like, you get like 9 to 10 points every single game he's played, which is great because that's what you need. You need several guys like him, right? Play some solid defense, knock down a couple threes, get you, 10 plus points a game. That's huge. And we could use like several Troy Browns. But you got Walker, you got Troy Brown. The problem is right now we need another contributor because with Russ and Walker and Brown and just everybody that's coming in, we need that other consistent guy because Walker right now is like our 3rd, 4th best player, right? And the problem is he would be best as like our 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th best player. And his impact would be so much larger, right? Like if Walker could give us, 16, 17 a game, but like as like our 5th option, that is huge. That is a big difference. His impact is going to be so much larger, especially when you have like guys like Russ, stuff like that. So I think we do a minor deal to kind of help turn this around. And, especially once you get Schroeder back, Schroeder, I think, is going to have an impact. Thomas Bryant, I think, is going to have an impact, right? So that's 2 guys there that you're going to get back that I think will have an impact. Now, I don't think they're going to have some crazy substantial impact, but I think they'll have enough of an impact to where it'll translate to some wins. So if we can kind of turn this around with this kind of lighter stretch here and get to a more reasonable point, like if we can get to like a 7-10, 7-11 record, well, now we're in a position where we don't have to panic. So now if you go and you do like a minor deal, like I said, a Miles Turner preferably, or a Terry Rozier, or my favorite package would be to go do the Spurs deal, take Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, trade for Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson. That's my favorite deal. If we could get that, that would be fantastic because now you're turning 2 unproductive players into 2 very good productive players that could be starting caliber. And now Walker can go to that position. And you still have Russ and whatever assets you need to go and make other deals. Or if it works and it like all of a sudden you're really good, like then maybe you keep Russ as your 6th man and see where you go from there, right? Especially with Schroeder back, Thomas Bryant, you get a Jakob Poeltl. So like if your starting 5 is say like LeBron, Walker, Richardson, Poeltl, and Davis, now you got a legit starting 5. You got defense, you got shooting, you got scoring, you got everything. And then you have Russ as your 6th man, and you have, your bench. You have Schroeder, you have Reeves, you have Brown, you have, Bryant, you have all of those guys. Now you have like a legit like 9 to 10 man roster that can all come in and can all contribute. I would love something like that. Will that happen? I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think we need a huge major deal yet. I do think we need to do something, right? But the problem is, and it's even a video I made and like asked the question to all of you. The problem is like, when does it become too late? And when does it become to a point where it's not even worth doing a deal and just kind of riding out the season and hope guys can turn it around? Because like, if we're like, let's say we lose to the Pistons and then we lose to the Suns and now we're 3-12, and like, let's say we lose to, the Spurs one of those times, and now we're say so we're like let's say 4 or 5 and 13, right? Like that's not good. Like at that point you're almost 20 games in, and it's like does one guy really come in and save it? Like if you're Rob Pelinka, you're looking at it like is a trade even worth it at this point? But if we can go on a little run here, get to like 2 or 3 games away from 500, then all of a sudden it's like okay, like let's make a legit trade, and see if like maybe we can do like the Spurs deal, or let's say we go get Miles Turner. Okay, we got Miles Turner. Let's see what that impact is, right? Give that another handful of games, another 10 games or so. If you're really good, like what happens? You go get Miles Turner, and all of a sudden you win, say 8 out of 10 games. Like okay, like maybe you're in a position, maybe you could be patient and see what happens, right? Or if a deal arises, go do the deal. Problem is that we don't know how many deals are really on the table, and the longer you can wait and prolong it, the more likely you're going to get a better deal that you want. Because we get to the trade deadline, teams are going to be more willing because now they're going to have to make a decision because they know, like, okay, are we going to tank? We're going to try to get better. Are we going to, do we have some contracts we can move off of? Like Russ's contract looks very enticing now. You know what I mean? Like it becomes a different conversation. It becomes a different thing in general. But again, I don't want to get too high on this Nets win, but I think it's huge for us. I think it's really going to help. I think that, we got like now 4 days to rest. Hopefully everybody can get to 100%, and then we can kind of get back into hopefully winning mode. Get a Detroit win. It'd be beautiful if we could beat the Suns. If we could beat the Suns, that's a 3-game win streak. If we could beat the Spurs, we play the Spurs before the Suns, but yeah. So if we could beat Detroit, beat the Spurs, there's a 3-game win streak. Beat the Suns, it's a 4-game win streak. I think we win at least one of the next 2 against the Spurs again. So now you've won 4 out of your last 5. You're 7 and you're 7-11. Now you're in a position like okay, like let's go do a trade. Hopefully, a trade or something gets done in this next week, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I don't necessarily think that this is like the beginning of a turnaround. It'd be nice if Davis could play the way he played tonight, play that consistently, but I don't know. We'll see. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What did you think of the Nets game? What do you think of the upcoming schedule? Do you think like that we need to just do a major trade? Go trade Russ, go trade Bev, go trade none, or do you think like no, yeah, like go get Miles Turner and let's see where we're at. Let's see what this team looks like, and then save Russ and like whatever other assets you have, and then wait for a better deal. However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. I'd love your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below.